Bienvenidos, mis amigos. My name is Benjamin Valencia, a TESOL instructor here in South Korea, and today I want to walk through with you on a story of what makes November 2nd, 2020 important. I want to walk you through a micro English teaching of El Día de los Muertos, how to teach this in class, as well as how to teach it for your TESOL or CELTA certification. Well, we'll start with why the confusion? Why do people think that El Día de los Muertos, why do people believe that it is the Mexican version of Halloween? And that's not true. You know, originally, El Día de los Muertos was a summertime event. However, it was changed because when the Spanish conquistadors came to colonize Mexico, the Roman Catholic Church in Europe moved El Día de los Muertos to October 31st. Now, why did they do that? Because in Europe, they celebrate October 31st. It's called All Hallows Eve. It is the European New Year. And the common belief was that on October 31st, this little line between the heaven and earth dissolves, and all of a sudden, for this brief time, the spirits can come and they can share their good times with us. That's why October 31st midnight was important. Now, November 1st, which was just yesterday, celebrates All Saints' Day, or El Día de los Inocentes. We remember the deceased children. Now, today is All Souls Day, or El Día de los Muertos, which celebrates all the adults, and everyone as well, too. Now, this is why today is the main holiday. Okay, now there are going to be several symbols of El Día de los Muertos. For example, we have las calacas, or the skeletons. We have the calaveras, or the skulls. We have El Mariachi. Now, the symbol of the El Mariachi is actually an adopted symbol from our class warfare during the Mexican Revolution of 1910. It just became a symbol of part of our custom of celebrating the holiday. Now, another symbol that we celebrate is the xolos. Again, xolos. The xolos are the hairless dogs, which were quite rare during the Aztec times, which was why it was believed that these dogs would help guide our loved ones to and from the underworld. Another symbol of the day of El Día de los Muertos is the marigold flower. Of course, the marigold flower in the Spanish pronunciation, cempasúchil, very hard to pronounce. However, this marigold flower has it's a beautiful kind of perfume scent. And when you smell it, it was, according to the Aztec mythology, this was the scent that attracted our loved ones, how to get to our homes. Also, in Aztec mythology, the bright colored flower represented the sun. So it was the sun that helped guide our loved ones as well to the real world. Now, of course, one of my favorite symbols of El Día de los Muertos is the food, right? Tamales, which is kind of a corn maize, very soft and smooth, and it has all kinds of fillings inside, like pork, chicken, beef, a little spicy, and sometimes with cheese. And that's one of the common foods that we celebrate today. Now, the question is, how do we celebrate El Día de los Muertos? Okay, well, we celebrate it with parades. We have parties, literally on the grave sites, which can sound a little bit creepy. However, this is just one of our customs. Our family gets together, we go to the cemetery, the gravesite, and we just light up some candles, and we remember who our loved ones were. Now, one of the other things is, of course, el pan de muerto, or pan de animas. And this is, of course, pastries and like cookies shaped like skeletons. Now, if you look at here, right here, if you see, this is the altar, right? The altar here, this is a common altar that we see. Now, as you can see here, this is a very common altar that you would see in the homes of many families. This altar has 3 tiers or 3 levels, and each level represents a certain meaning. Now, for example, the first level or tier, we show the picture of our loved one who is being honored at the ceremony. The second tier here, we have water and some fruits. Now, the pitcher of water represents, of course, the meaning that our loved ones have had a long journey from the underworld, so they need to be refreshed. So the first thing they should see is the pitcher of water. And the last level that we see, we also see a lot of food as well here. And that's the common way of the 3 tiers. Now, the 4 elements are also well represented in this common altar. Now, again, this altar is called las ofrendas, or the offerings. And the 4 elements, what are the 4 elements? Wind, fire, earth, and, right? Earth, fire, wind, and
Metal?
Okay.
Gold?
Yeah. Okay. No, it's not metal. Okay. No. So one more time again. The 4 elements are wind, fire, earth, and
Water?
water. That's right. Okay. So here, what are the elements? Okay. Well, wind represents the paper that everyone puts here. The water, of course, in the pitcher. The fire comes from the candles. And the food itself represents the earth, okay? And that is the common altar that we see, or las ofrendas. Okay, so now you know that it's quite common why people would get confused, why we confuse Halloween with the Dia de los Muertos, because it looks like it's celebrated almost the same way, because we do actually put on costumes, we do put face paint, so it kind of does look kind of scary in a way. Now, what do I mean by when I say we? Well, here when we look at the map, we see this region. This is Central America and Mexico and Texas and California. Now, this holiday, this tradition of El Dia de los Muertos is observed and celebrated throughout this part of Latin America as well as in the United States. So when I say we, I mean that I'm very proud of where I come from my Mexican Spanish roots. And I love to share this lesson with my students who are learning English in Korea. I've taught this lesson a number of times, and I have the pleasure of teaching this just today, actually. And I will continue teaching it as well. Now, the thing is that there are 2 ways to teach this. Now, we're looking at teaching this from a micro-teaching way. How do you teach this? Well, the short story that I told you is based on a reading article that I got from the History Channel. Okay, now that would be your main activity in a reading lesson. So when we look at the micro-teaching stages again, the micro-teaching stages is your lead-in here. In a lead-in, you just have a nice discussion with the students. You want to transition them from a Korean-speaking environment, for example, and into an English environment. It's very hard to do that, to transition them. We just ask questions with follow-ups. Now your pre-activity are worksheets like these. These kinds of worksheets that I make helps the students to do an activity before the reading, which helps the students match the words as well as working on the pronunciations of these words. Okay, because we all need practice with these words as well as the meanings of the vocabulary. Now, with the worksheets, we have the pre-activity, and then the main activity comes with the actual reading of the article. Now, after the reading of the article, 3 minutes, the students are reading to get the gist of the article, as well as being able to develop their skimming and scanning skills, which is why after that reading article, we would need to expose the students to reading comprehension questions, right? And then after that would be the post activity. The post activity is, again, one of my favorite activities, because in the post activity, the activity would be a self-reflection, turning the activity around on you right there. So, for example, how do you celebrate the Day of the Dead in your country? So, for example, if I'm from Russia, how do we celebrate? Well, we get some family together, we will visit the gravesite, we will sit down, and we will drink some vodka. We will not tap our glasses. However, we will remember how they were. And we'll talk about what we remember of them. That's how we would do it in Russia, for example. Okay? And that would be a post activity. So now now that would be a reading micro teaching. Now you can make this into a listening micro teaching. The activities are mostly the same, except this time you don't have a reading article. You're going by a story that I just told you and being able to develop the same kind of reading comprehension questions. So now we're working on the receptive listening and reading for the micro teachings. Okay, so here with this lesson, what I have done with this lesson is why should I buy this lesson from you? Well, the thing is that, for example, when we have course books like this, for example, World English, we teach business English. I would teach this to my middle school students. There is a chapter, for example, in many of these books, for example, on celebrations. So you see, this is the way how to bring the lesson out from the pages of a book, and how do you teach it in a way that's interesting and fun. See, this kind of book activity is more restricted activity. However, it's good only because, again, it asks you how would you celebrate the holiday in your country. Okay, like for example, how does Korea celebrate its Day of the Dead version? You see? And that's why when you have all these materials, I always keep my materials in an A4 box like this, so that way I'm ready to go. I can just walk into any class. I'm not doing a certification because I have one already. However, if you're doing your TESOL and CELTA, well, this lesson that I have for you does include the lesson plans for both a reading and a listening, so you will get to actually see what the lesson plan would look like, detailed with its teacher's instructions, the listening, CCQ, and of course the activities, how we run the activity. So here we will see that again. What will you get in this lesson package? 2 lesson plans, 3 worksheets. You'll have 12 cards that will all be laminated, as well as the pictures that you see here. I will also throw in an extra set of color copies, just in case you might lose one of your cards. You will also get the twine, the rope, and of course the clips as well for this, so that you can set up your board in an engaging, fun way. Okay, well, how much for everything? Well, today, because we already passed our holiday, you probably wouldn't be able to teach this until next year. I'm giving it all away for a special offer of only 50,000 won, or $50. Again, for 50, you can have all this material, and you'll be ready to teach this at any time. For $50, that's 1 hour of teaching, but how many classes will you teach this to? And that's the key. Well, I hope to see you ordering your material through me, and I will see you guys next time in my next video on the next holiday. See you later. Hasta luego.